Okay, 11.3 covers Intro to Inequalities. So we're going to talk about writing inequalities, what the symbols mean, how to graph them, and how to recognize a graph and write an inequality for that. Okay, so here are all of your inequality symbols. You have your less than symbol, your greater than, your less than or equal to, your greater than or equal to. Okay, you're probably familiar with the less than and the greater than symbols, but the less than or equal to might be new for you. The only difference is that we put a line underneath, so it's kind of a mix between a less than symbol and an equal sign. Okay, and the same thing for greater than or equal to. These words are some words that will help you when you're trying to write inequality for a real life situation, and they're ones that you're going to want to know. So maybe write them down or take a screenshot of these. You need to know these for when you're writing real life situations. For less than, obviously less than, fewer than, below. For greater than, we have greater than, more than, above. For less than or equal to, these are the ones that are probably going to be the hardest ones for you to remember. We have maximum, at most, less than or equal to, or no more than. For greater than or equal to, you're going to hear the words minimum, at least, that's a big one, you want to know that. Greater than or equal to, or no less than. Okay, so you really want to probably pay attention to the last two columns because those are the two that you're most unfamiliar with. Okay, so here are 4 examples in words what they might look like. Are there more than one option? Absolutely, but something that you might say if I asked you to write an inequality or write words for these inequalities. For the first one, m is greater than 7, because again, that's our greater than symbol. R is less than -4. T is greater than or equal to 6. And y is less than or equal to -1. What's really important about an inequality is to remember that when we did equations, x just equaled one thing, one number, one value. When you're talking about an inequality, it's an entire set, it's a solution set, it's a range of values. And that's why when we get to the graphing, you'll understand. Okay, writing inequalities for real life situations. You must be at least 18 years old to vote. That was that word at least I told you to remember. Okay, at least. Now, hopefully you remember that at least means greater than or equal to. So think of yourself as X. Okay? And you have to be at least 18 years old, which means that you have to be greater than or equal to 18. You can be 18 years old, you could be 19 years old, you could be 20 years old, but you can't be 17 or 16 or 15. Okay? The chair holds at most 200 pounds. Okay? At most is less than or equal to. Think of the chair as your X. Okay? Here's our chair, or here is, someone sitting on it. Okay? 200 pounds is the most that it can be. So you can be 200 pounds and sit in that chair, or you have to be less than 200 pounds. You can't, if you're 201, the chair can't hold you anymore. Okay. Some more real world situations. The temperature today will be at most 50 degrees. Hopefully we remember that at most is less than or equal to. So there's our T for the temperature, and at most is less than or equal to, and we use 50. The temperature tomorrow will be above 70 degrees. That's greater than. Okay, it's not greater than or equal to because it's telling me it's above 70. It's not going to be 70. It's going to be everything higher than that. Yesterday, there was less than 2 inches of rain. So oopsies. Less than is really easy because it's just our less than symbol. Okay, R for rain, and it's less than 2. Now remember, you could pick any variable you want. So if you chose to use N or X or B or anything, for these, that's okay. Okay. Last Monday, there was at least 3 inches of rain. So at least, again, is greater than. You really want to know at least and at most. So when you go to graph inequalities, okay, when we say graph, we don't mean on a coordinate plane, we just mean a number line. Okay, so to graph some inequalities, make sure that you have a number line, and your line has to have arrows on both sides. Okay, we're not asking you to label every single number, okay, on the number line. I like the number that you're talking about, which is 3, one number ahead of that, and one number lower. Okay? The next important thing to remember is the different types of circles. Okay, you can either have a closed dot, you can have an open dot. So there's two different types. There's a closed dot or an open dot. The closed dot is going to be for our less than or equal to or a greater than or equal to symbols. Okay, so either our less than or equal to symbol or a greater than or equal to is going to be a closed dot. Our open circles are going to be our greater than or our less than symbols. And that's because that number that we're talking about, that 3, that 2, is not included in the solution set for this graph. Okay, the closed circle means that it can be that value or anything else that's shaded in. The open circle means it can't be that value, but everything else around it. Okay, so since this is a less than symbol, I'm going to put a big circle, a big open circle on top of the 3 on the line, not above the line, on the line. And then I'm going to shade everything that is less than 3. Hopefully we know that 2 is less than 3. We know that 1 is less than 3. So I'm going to shade in this side of my line. And everything on that side of my number line until forever, negatives, positives, right? Everything that's less than 3 works for X. And I could plug any of those values in and this would be a true sentence. Okay, so you're going to shade everything in all the way to the left on the number line, not above it. The same thing goes for when you have the closed circle. So I put my numbers. Since I'm talking about -4, I'm going to put my -4. Be really careful when you are labeling your negatives. Okay, remember the number line goes in the opposite direction. So you have to imagine that 0 is over here. Okay, if you put your numbers down there wrong, it's wrong. So it's really important. Okay, I know that -4 is where I'm talking about. My -4 is greater than or equal to -4. So since it's a greater than or equal to, it's a closed circle. And I'm going to shade everything, oopsies, all the way to the right. Okay, everything in the greater than. -3 is greater than -4. If -2 were here, it's greater than -4. A little trick, but it only works, so I kind of hate telling you this trick, but I will tell you it. Okay, it only works if the variable is on the left side. A little trick is if you think of the symbol as an arrow, and since it's pointing that way, it means everything in that direction gets shaded. The same thing, since it's pointing to the right, everything to the right gets shaded. But this trick only works if you have your variable on the left side. So sometimes I don't like telling you guys that because then you think it works always and you end up graphing backwards. Try to plug a number in and it should work out to be true. The last thing we're going to talk about is taking a graph and writing an inequality for it. So now you have the choice. You can use any variable you want. Okay, I'm a big fan of the x, so I'm going to use x. It's an open circle, so I know it's going to be a greater than or less than. And I'm looking at the direction that it's shaded. It's shaded to the right. So it's saying everything that's greater than 23, because I know 24 is greater than 23, so it's 25, 26, and so on. So it's my greater than symbol, and then I write 23. I write the number that the dot is on top of. Okay? It's an open circle, so it's greater than. Again, look, my arrow is pointing in that direction. So if you guys get in the habit of writing your variable on the left side, you can always just follow the arrow to know which way it's being shaded. Okay, in this example, I have an x. It's a closed circle, so I know it's going to be a greater than or equal to or less than or equal to. Okay, I know my number is -16. Okay, and then it's going to be everything to the left, which I know is less than or equal to -16. And our last example, it's an open circle again. So I have my x. I know it's a greater than or less than. Since it's everything to the left, 99, 98, I know that those are less than 100. So I'm going to use my less than symbol, and then I write 100. There's a lot of information in this first, section. So this first section of this chapter, or this section of the chapter, I should say. Really good idea if you need to go back and rewatch any of these parts, look at them over, make sure you write these notes down. They're very important. You need to know the difference between a closed and open circle and how to graph them and how to read a graph.